Well, just when you thought Hamza Yousaf, the former First Minister of Scotland and ex-SNP leader, had vanished, well, he's back with a new video. Let's break it down, shall we?
The far right are losing. Don't get me wrong, they're far from out. But this week has proven that we can defeat the far right and hit them where it hurts.
OK, well, who are these far-right people exactly? Neo-Nazis? People using violence, vandalism, causing public disturbance?
Elon Musk has hinted he will leave as a Trump advisor next month.
Oh, right, yes. You mean Elon Musk, a billionaire who's built businesses, created thousands of jobs, aims for Mars, and just happens to share his political opinions publicly. Got it.
Of course, he says it was all part of his grand plan and has nothing to do with the 36% drop in Tesla shares in the last quarter.
Well, I hate to ruin the narrative, but Musk was only eligible to work for the US government for under 130 days legally. The Department of Government Efficiency was always meant to be temporary. A quick bit of research doesn't hurt.
The fact that Tesla has had some $460 billion erased from its market value in the last quarter shows that if we can mobilise, we will hit the far right and those who finance them hard in their pockets.
Yes. Financial ruin for our enemies, eh? Totally democratic, isn't it? Meanwhile, regular people lose their savings. Pensions get wiped, jobs vanish. I'm not sure that's worth celebrating.
Who would have thought that if you wield the chainsaw of bureaucracy like a madman and fire people from their jobs without due process, the people might just turn against you?
Yes, 20 million for Iraqi Sesame Street, 59 million for luxury migrant hotels in New York City, 1.5 million for Egyptian tourism, 3.5 million to count fish eggs. The Department of Government Efficiency says it saved US taxpayers $150 billion so far.
It's not just Elon Musk. Let's look at the bigger picture. This week, we also learned the leader of France's far-right, Marine Le Pen, won't be eligible to stand in the next French presidential elections, having been found guilty of embezzling EU funds.
Yeah, so we must jail our opponents. Just as they're on track to win the French presidency, lock them up. Well, he seems to be suggesting that if you can't beat them at the ballot box, imprison them instead.
Far-right's rhetoric might be loud, but our resistance is louder.
Yes. The far-left resistance certainly is loud, isn't it? Chants of jihad on the streets of London, mass vandalism of innocent owners of Tesla vehicles around the world, the blocking of ambulances on the roads. Just a couple of examples there.
Keep pushing back, keep showing up, keep resisting, and we will.
All right, let me be clear. The far left will never win. Using lies to deceive and manipulate the public will always be exposed by the free press. Acts of vandalism and violence will always be categorically rejected. The public will not be forced into submission despite how much they seem to try to lock up their opponents or financially ruin others following their far-left handbook. Just as the former First Minister of Scotland discovered himself, we will always win while democracy lives, won't we?
This video is sponsored by Saily. Saily is a brand new eSIM service app. What it does is get you a local SIM card that you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a text back home. They've got eSIM plans in over 160 countries and 8 regions, so pretty much wherever you're going, they'll be able to make sure you're connected. So how does it work? Well, all you've got to do is hit our link in the description to download the app. It will work on iOS or Android. Buy a plan, you can choose the best time frame for you, And then just install the eSIM on your phone. When you land at your holiday destination, you can activate your plan instantly. Saley eSIMs only ever have to be installed once, so when you go on your next trip, you just buy a plan for a new country, turn that eSIM back on, and just like that, you could be watching the GB News YouTube channel. You can be connected anywhere you go, and you don't have to deal with patchy Wi-Fi in your hotels. So get sorted for your next trip by downloading Saley using the link in the description below, and if you use our code NEWS at checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% discount on us.
Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel. GB News contributor Will Kingston, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Bill, what do you make of this rant by Hamza Yousaf? Do you think he's right in saying that, these people are far right? I think the word far right is a ridiculous term to describe someone like Elon Musk, don't you?
No, I think he is. I think he is far right.
Really?
Look. I'm not a supporter of Hamza Yousaf in any way, shape, or form, and frankly, a period of silence from him would be very welcome. But in any objective political analysis on the left-right spectrum, Trump and Musk would be on the far populist right. And what really gets me about this, there is frankly a level of hypocrisy about jailing and silencing people. Look at what Trump has done. He says he's in favour of free speech. Well, he's banned journalists from the White House. He's talked about criminalising journalists from CNN. A French scientist, a reputable French scientist, was turned back at the airport because he was discovered with remarks critical of Donald Trump. What kind of country is that? And as for Musk, I mean, I'll be blunt, he's a political nut job who's become too toxic even for the Trump administration. You say there's a 130-day legal limit, Alex.
Yes.
It was very clear Trump wanted to extend that. And he made clear he wanted to extend it. He's backed off because the guy is so toxic. All those claims you've got...
That is a legal limit, though, Bill. That's the reality. He would become a government employee, which he cannot do when he's running those businesses.
Yeah, and Trump wanted to manage that and wanted to keep him in post. And he's not been able to, if the briefings are correct. And he's going to go because, those savings you talk about, some of them were standing down scientists working on Ebola and bird flu and nuclear reactors. And he's had to reinstate those people.
Okay.
Independent experts say he's overclaimed the savings by 80%.
OK, all right. OK, Will, what do you make of it all? I mean, you're an anti-tariffs man, but you maybe are pro-Musk?
No, well, I want to pick up what Bill said at the very outset, which is the far-right slur. And make no mistake, it is a slur. It's no longer something which describes an ideological position. It is a term used by left-wing people to insinuate that someone is a Nazi. That is what far-right means. If you look at what Elon Musk says and what he does, he supports environmental positions. He's voted Democrat almost all of his life, except the most recent election. He supports a version of capitalism, which is centrist. There is nothing to suggest that this man is far-right.
Will, when he was wandering around a stage doing that, what was he doing?
I do think that hand silly thing is very silly.
Ironically, my hand gesture I've just been doing to say that Bill is being ridiculous actually could be misconstrued, and that's exactly the point.
That was nothing compared to what Musk was doing.
Here's the thing. He has said it wasn't a Nazi's gesture, and that is the start and the end of it. What you think he is a populist, and you put populism and far-right together, and that is one of the big problems that the left has today, is that populist positions are now suddenly far-right, when really they are listening to the people.
Chloe.
Right. Let's get away from technicalities on what exactly Elon Musk was doing with his hand and look at actually what Hamza Yousaf has said here, which is
Hamza Yousaf.
The far right are losing, is what he's saying. Now, I'm going to say right rather than far right because I do think that it's silly terminology. The right are not losing at the moment. What he's done is he's picked at a few pieces of bad news and completely ignored the elephant in the room, which is parties on the right doing far better in the polls than parties on the left at the moment. I mean, he completely ignored the fact that the Reform Party have been polling consistently, absolutely brilliantly in the UK. We've now just had a poll out putting the AfD neck and neck in the polls, nearly at the top in Germany. It's not the case that the left are doing well. And what he's done here is really expose the left for who they really are and their tactics. Rather than trying to win with good argument, they think, oh, we'll try and imprison people. With Donald Trump, when he was nearly assassinated, you had all these lefties on TikTok saying, oh, oh, I'm so annoyed the shooter missed. I think that's...
Well, that's disgraceful.
Yeah.
That's
Now
disgraceful.
the arson on all these tests.
But this is Trump who incited people to storm Capitol Hill to overturn a democratic election.
So let me just clarify, because I think this term far right, we've got to pick it out a little bit here, because when I look at the actions that many of the left in this country have, such as blocking ambulances on roads, some activist groups like Just Stop Oil, for example, we've got the pro-Palestine rallies that are causing a lot of public nuisance and shouts for jihad on the streets. And then in America, you've got people vandalising Teslas, people going around and literally
wholly wrong.
But that's, to me, an example of far-right behaviour, but it's demonstrated by the left of politics. So I don't think I would put Donald Trump and Elon Musk in the category of far-right, because I think, when I think of far-right, I think of Nazis. I think of people going around smashing homes, pulling people out on the streets, targeting people of ethnic minorities. I don't believe at all that Trump and Elon Musk can be called far-right.
Well, sorry. Trump not far right. He tried to overturn a democratic election, which every court in the land said that he was wrong about. And yet
communists have tried to do that during history as well, Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I condemn them every bit as much as I condemn Trump. Do you know what? In my experience, the far right and the far left meet each other round the back. And in terms of, opposing free speech, trying to ban things, they're both as bad as each other.
OK. Well, Will, Hamza Yousaf tried to tackle child poverty. He said he boosted the NHS. He's got good relations with local councils. Was that a laugh, Bill? No,
that was a cough.
Sorry, just checking.
A Freudian cough.
I will laugh at Hamza Yousaf.
Hamza Yousaf isn't all that bad. Maybe he's just got very strong political views.
That was a laugh. No, if you look at what is actually the standard of living in Scotland today, obviously that is not the case. And I think the reason why he wasn't able to lift standard of living is apparent in that video. And you heard it when he said, well, Tesla stocks are down 36%, and then a loving wink to the crowd if that is suddenly a good thing. You said it yourself in your monologue. That doesn't mean that Elon Musk is going to go broke. He's got plenty of money. That's not an issue for him. That is an issue for the shareholders in our company, mums and dads everywhere. That is an issue for the thousands of Tesla workers all around the world. If they see that this is just Main Street or Wall Street that's being affected, it's not. It is average people that are affected when those sorts of share prices go down.
Chloe, shouldn't things like the Department of Government Efficiency be, heralded for what they've done? They've taken an axe to bureaucracies. They, like I said, the Iraqi Sesame Street, which was worth millions, $25–30 million. This sort of stuff should never have happened in the first place, should it? And should be at least be thanked for that.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see both in Argentina and now in the US, Hamza Yousaf said they're taking a chainsaw to government spending. Now, Elon Musk, he said, look, we will make mistakes, but when we do, we will fix them. He said he made a mistake on Ebola and that he would fix it. And there will be some things that he makes cuts to that people disagree with. But there are a lot of big things that money was being spent on that is just ridiculous. And I mean, here in the UK as well, some of the ridiculous stuff we spend money on. We've got spectator projects against frivolous funding now, revealing some absolutely absurd stuff we're spending money on. We need to go back to the days of politicians feeling like they have a duty to spend taxpayers' money very, very carefully.
Final word to you on this, Bill, because shouldn't I mean, when you look at what Keir Starmer's doing right now, he seems to be pivoting very much towards Trump's sort of rhetoric. He's talking about the end of globalisation today. He's talking about bringing back production to the country, protecting British people. That's very Britain first language. He's talking about taking an axe to bureaucracy in the UK. Is he learning from Trump?
No, absolutely not. Look, of course there is a case for really ensuring you're getting value for money from public spending. But I don't know what I can believe and what I can't believe from Elon Musk. This is the man who claimed that USAID had sent 50 million condoms to Gaza. It was completely and utterly untrue. It was a lie. Experts say 80% of his claims are not valid.
OK, well, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately.